Hey guys, welcome back to the DKOT channel. Let me start off by saying we are very sorry that we are a day late on this podcast video for you. My deepest apologies. I had a little bit of an issue recording Chrissy's end of the conversation yesterday, or actually 2 days ago at this point, when you think about it, to get this video out to you guys. So I do apologize for that. So we are ready to Let's Talk Thrones. We are ready to start our next edition of that for Season 7, Episode 2 of Game of Thrones here on the DKOT channel. But we do apologize for not having this out sooner. We already did one, but you are going to get to listen to Take 2 right now. So, Chrissy, thank you and welcome back to the
Thank
DKOT
you.
channel. It is always a pleasure to have you here to talk Thrones with us. So let's talk Thrones. Chrissy, go ahead and get us started. Let us know what went on with Season 7, Episode 2, Stormborn.
Well, I think we got to start where the storm was at, which was at Dragonstone.
Yes.
So much happened. All kinds of visitors came in and out. There was a lot that went on at Dragonstone in this episode.
Okay, so who is the biggest visitor at Dragonstone that we should...
Oh, I think they're all equally important, but chronologically speaking, we'll start with Varys. I know he's not really a visitor; he kind of lives there, but
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
the interaction between Varys and Dany in this episode was really good, and I think it really displayed Daenerys and her authority and being smart into not initially trust Varys because of the past experience that she had with him, and are you going to be loyal to me? That's what she wanted to know, as any queen would want to know. And I think what was really great is she said, if there's something that I don't agree with, be honest with me. Don't conspire against me.
Right. So, but what? And excuse me. What did you think of Varys's response to that?
I do believe it's genuine. I believe he's genuinely loyal to her to rule the Seven Kingdoms.
I 100% agree with that. I think his response was not only affirmative of what we as the fans are seeing, but it felt very genuine coming from him. Um, I believe he really does serve the realm. And somewhere in his speech, now I don't remember the exact words, but it just kind of had this feeling of, yes, I am loyal to you, but, and we know what the Starks say about but. Anything that comes before but is eradicated. But when it comes to, if you become the Mad King, if you become Cersei, if you become one of these people, my loyalty is to the realm and to the people. Right
Mhm.
now, I believe you are what's good for the people, and that is why I'm loyal to you. So I felt that there was just such an honest exchange between these two in that scene, and it was really awesome to watch.
Yeah, it was really well done, and I think Varys explained his position, like where he comes from, like this is what happened to me, and this is why I am for the people of Westeros, and I think he'll stick by that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's talk about, and you know how I feel about it, so I don't even bother with her name, Tyrion and the Sand Snake bitch. Um, how I feel about her. Her name is Sand, and we'll leave it at that. But so Tyrion and Sand Snake bitch. Now, I did enjoy the fact that Tyrion called her out on killing an innocent, and of course she retorts with, that no Lannisters are innocent. And of course we know better because we know not all Lannisters are the same. I mean, there's no way you can possibly compare the younger Lannisters, the children who are all now dead, and Tyrion Lannister to Tywin or to Cersei. It's just impossible to put that on there. And while I loved how Danny stepped in and said, that he is the hand of the queen and you will show him the proper respect, I felt a little disappointed that we didn't see more out of Tyrion in that you killed my niece, you bitch.
Yeah, I feel that the first couple episodes, Tyrion's been rather mild mannered in a way.
Very
Um,
much so.
I don't want to say he's hanging back, but I think he's taking his job of Hand of the Queen very seriously, and he's doing a lot of observing and taking in his surroundings in order to advise her the best that he can.
Okay. I mean, and I do agree with that, but I'm still, even with that said, I'm still disappointed that he didn't stand up for Marcella a little bit more. I mean, that was his niece. He adored his niece and nephews, well, except for Joffrey. Fuck Joffrey. But, that's, I don't know. I was just really disappointed by that.
And she brought up, how he was responsible for Oberyn's death, and I think Tyrion knows that. It's like, you don't need to put salt on the wound, lady. Like, I know that I'm responsible.
Right.
And, he doesn't feel bad about it. Come on. Like, of course he does.
Right. Yeah, he's not what you consider to be the typical Lannister. He actually has a conscience, which is something we're starting to see out of Jaime, but that's another talking point.
Yeah.
It sure has taken him a long time to get there, though. But let's see. So, what else went on in that room? There was one conversation I was really interested in, and that's when the rest of the room got dismissed.
Yes, with Olenna and Daenerys. Now, I have always loved Olenna. I like her so much. I think she's so cool.
Oh, she
She's such
pulls
a
no
great
punches. Yeah, she's honest.
Mhm.
That's what I love about her. Yes.
So, and how she advises her to kind of, well, just ignore the men because that's what I did and I'm still here and they're all dead.
But
And she
oh,
points out that, and when Dany says, like, I just want there to be peace, and she says, do you think that's like that there's ever been peace?
right. And I certainly understand her point with that, but I just kind of think back to a little bit like before everyone had left the room when Dany kind of, I guess you could say, quoted Tyrion and saying, "I don't want to be the Queen of Ashes."
Mm-hmm.
But Elena makes a really, really good point in that if you want them to respect you, you need them to fear you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're past the point of talking. The only way you're ever going to sit on that Iron Throne is if you flex your muscles.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I see a lot of this in Dany. I see that this is one of the things with the arc of her character is now we all love Dany. We all know, she's most of her intentions are good, at least from the point of view of the audience, but we also might be clouded by that because we really do love her so much. But what it comes down to is she has a little bit of that Mad King streak in her, and I'm starting to see that more and more as we head here into season 2.
I think she does for sure, and I think that's kind of what Tyrion is on high alert for. As soon as he starts seeing those tendencies, and I think that's why he advised her, to go with the siege option of King's Landing, but also simultaneously, okay, well, let's go attack Castle Rock with the Unsullied as a battle strategy. I don't think that he wants to go head on with this big war because she's not super experienced in that venue, I guess, and it might not be the best approach. I mean, Tyrion, he's been on the ground. He saw what happened with Stannis, and that didn't work out.
And he understands Westeros.
Mm-hmm.
Only a man like Jon Snow could somehow involve foreigners in taking a land and keep things diplomatic, which is something we're going to get to in a moment, I'm sure. But it's sending the Unsullied to go take Casterly Rock, his home, his ancestral home, really says a lot about him, about his character, while, playing the smart part of, the diplomatic reasoning in having Westerosi armies siege King's Landing. So we are seeing that Tyrion is not just a bullshitter when the man knows his strategy.
Mm-hmm.
He is really good at what he does. And for him to be on Daenerys' side, besides the dragon, she's his number one weapon.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
And he's the one that's holding her at bay. And now Elena is getting in her head, reminding her, dear, you are the dragon. So
Hmm.
I see some conflict in the upcoming episodes, but
Yeah.
it's going to be exciting to see kind of what direction Danny chooses.
And, speaking of Tyrion and his excellent judge of character, if you will, what he
Yes.
does with the information that Melisandre brings to Danny about the prophecy with her and John side by side.
Yes, possibly, because prophecies are vague, and that, of course, brings up our other guest of Dragonstone, our big name, and that is Melisandre, the Red Woman. And I tell you, trouble follows her wherever she goes.
Certainly does.
No matter where she is, I tell you, there is bound to be danger. But yeah, definitely, the way Tyrion presented his love of Jon Snow is the best way to put it.
I love
And
how
and
completely like fangirled out. Like, I know him. I like him. We're friends.
oh, and the way his jaw hit the floor when he heard that he was the king in the North,
Yep.
that was something else. But yeah, just
He was like,
no.
yeah, I know him. We went to the wall together.
That's my buddy. I like him. And, you know, I know we stick to the show with these broadcasts and everything we do concerning Game of Thrones on DKOT. But if you haven't read the first book, at least in the series of A Song of Ice and Fire, the show missed out on so many opportunities for the amazing dynamic and friendship that really occurs between Jon Snow and Tyrion. Um, and to just to bring it up, just for our listeners to really understand it, Ghost likes Tyrion.
Hmm.
So if that doesn't tell you something about the true friendship and dynamic of these two people, so but you know how it goes week to week now. Game of Thrones, third episode, we're finally going to see the reunion of Jon and Tyrion. I'm so excited, but we're also going to see the reunion of Sir Davos and the Red Woman.
Yay.
So please tell me what you think about this. What do you think's going to happen with this one, Chrissy?
Gosh, I don't know. I don't care for her very much, the Red Woman, and
Not many of us do, other than to look at. It's about it.
as long as she's got that necklace on.
No, please.
And I feel, I would not blame Davos for just taking her out, but I feel Davos is as righteous as he would be in doing that. I don't think he will. Just in his character, I don't think that he will kill her.
Right. He serves his king, and he wouldn't do so without the order.
Right.
Yeah. No, and you gotta love Sir Davos.
Yeah, you do. He's great.
He really is. He's one of the most amazing characters on the show. Just his intelligence, his loyalty, his battle knowledge, his bravery. Especially, and they really touch on that, especially when that conversation a couple of seasons ago when I believe it was season 5, when Stannis talks to, not Stannis, excuse me, when Davos talks to Tormund before the night of the Battle of the Bastards, season 6. So, yeah, and he talks about he just walks because he can't sleep, and it's just, just like any human being, he'd be scared shitless to go into what he's about to go into, but he still faces it with bravery. And Sir Davos and Sam, two bravest men in Westeros.
Hmm.
So, but where did the episode take us from there?
Well, we have one more thing to talk about at Dragonstone.
Oh, and what is that?
I just can't believe you forgot that part.
You know what? I haven't seen the episode since pretty much it aired, and we're on take 2. So I do apologize. What piece? What
Oops.
piece? What
Oops.
piece? Oh my goodness! You know what? That's yeah. Okay. All right. How could I forget? Probably the absolute hottest physical scene ever in the history of Dragonstone, at least, if not all of Westeros. Okay, I'll just get to the main point that I need to make is I'm sure a lot of people are with me on this one. You were just screaming at your television, tell her you love her. Tell her you love her. And he certainly did in his own way, I guess you could say.
I feel like it's going to be like one of those legendary moments. Like from Star Wars. I love you. I know. You're my weakness. Like, oh my gosh, what girl would not get weak in the knees? If a guy said that to her, like, oh really? Thank you.
He was the bravest, but you are my weakness. And yeah, and that led to, for the guys and for the girls, whether you like guys, whether you like girls, whether you like both, you've got to admit this was probably one of the hottest scenes that has ever occurred in the Game of Thrones. And I think, if I remember correctly, it looks like Grey Worm took a book out of Jon Snow's playbook.
Yeah, it seems like that. Legend of Jon Snow is traveling throughout Westeros. How to get your woman.
It's hard to say that Jon Snow knows nothing. He knows what Grey Worm knows, and that is how to keep him coming back. So nice to Grey Worm and Jon Snow. Thank you very much. Gentlemen, we applaud you both. You've shown the world how it is done. But yes, incredibly hot scene, and one of the good reasons that it was rated TVMA, and when it tells you that little rating, it said strong sexual content, SC, and I'm like, well, for Game of Thrones, just exactly what do you consider strong? Oh yeah, it was strong.
That's strong.
Yes.
Stronger than I thought it would be.
A lot of couples enjoyed watching that episode together. So... yes, very good scene, very good, and but no, on an emotional level, absolutely as well too. Grey Worm really, in the best way that he could, expressed his love for her, and she expressed her love for him, and something we had all already known, but it was about time they finally came to grips with that, and it's because he's leaving, because he's going to be leading the charge for the Unsullied. He is their general. And he has been an amazing general, so I'm very curious to see where his story leads. I do believe that he is going to end up dying. I do believe it's going to be season 7. I'm sorry to say it. The question now remains, is he ever going to see Missandei again? And I'm going to be honest, my prediction is no. So sorry to be the bummer, but sorry to bring everything down so much, but it's but yeah, I think that's going to be one of those ones that gets us. So since we're so bummed out at this moment, let's move on to the next scene. What happens after we finally leave Dragonstone?
Well, we had quite a bit also happen at Winterfell.
Yes, we did.
And just one piece of advice up in the north: mom and dad have to stop arguing in front of the kids.
Yeah, that is 100% the truth.
Sansa and Jon, I can't, not in front of the kids, guys.
And you know what the funny thing is, though, Jon made that point last week. Mm-hmm. I don't have a problem with you challenging me, but don't do it publicly. You have a problem with me, and this is kind of how we put it today as grown-ass people. If you've got a problem with me, pull me aside and talk to me about it.
Right.
Don't call me out like that. That's not cool. So and he really made a point, and then she still turned around and did it, and of course later on he turns around after his big announcement about him going to Dragonstone. He puts her in charge.
Right. I feel like, I just feel like, if he says black, she says white, not to be oppositional. I don't know if she's just trying to feel her oats as the Lady of Winterfell, but it's just well, I just want to let you know. And then when she said to him last week about, well, Joffrey wouldn't let anybody question him, well, you're kind of being a bitch about it, Sansa.
Right. Well, and and honestly, and how I feel about Sansa, one of my least favorite characters. But still, no, I've enjoyed her arc. Don't get me wrong, and I think she's played wonderfully by Sophie Turner. But not one of my favorite characters. I just dislike her. I think she's too much like her mother, and I disliked her mother. They're just, two characters I never liked, and, Catelyn's death still did get to me. God, I still can't hear the Rains of Castamere without thinking about it. Right. But, it's still, it's okay, but, Sansa, I don't know what she's pulling here, but she also does kind of have a little bit of a point. I've got to stand up for her at this moment here, as much as I dislike her, in that John's making these announcements prior to seeking her counsel in private.
Right.
So he can get mad, yes, about her challenging him publicly, but did he give her the opportunity to do it privately first?
Right. They just need
So
to work on their communication, I think.
absolutely, that is what they definitely need to do. And when it comes to a wolf pack, and we know this series can certainly be so, the word I'm looking for, symbolic. And they are the wolves, and he's the alpha wolf, and she's the alpha female wolf. And when they're not communicating, the whole pack suffers.
And
And they really do. To put it point blank, they need to get their shit together. Stop bickering like children. You're not children anymore. You're the king of the north and the lady of Winterfell. You need to figure it out. So it kind of goes to both of them. I don't know who I can really hold more responsible in that situation, because he's not, giving her the chance to, privately understand these issues before he makes a big announcement, and she's also cutting him off when he's being public, and she's challenging his authority in front of the lords of the north. But that also kind of does bring up another point. The description of the episode that said that Jon faces a revolt. I saw 2 minutes of arguing and disagreeing, and Jon saying, no, this is what I'm going to do, and then they were finally like, okay, yes, your grace. That's not exactly a revolt.
No, I feel like it was more like a disagreement.
Yeah, it was more kind of just like, and even Lyanna Mormont, who, finally gave Lord Glover a break for once, decided to talk to Jon Snow instead today.
Yeah.
But, we right now we need the king in the north, And, yeah, good for you, Lord Glover. She didn't chew your ass out this week. So
He's probably like, oh, thank God, because I'm so afraid of that little girl.
you ever need to put Lord Glover in his place, just go grab Lyanna Mormont.
I just
Done.
imagine him like curling up in bed at night and just crying whenever she talks to him.
Man has faced beasts and warriors on the battlefield, but little Lyanna Mormont, just week to week, Lord Glover's like, I got something to say, and she's like, sit down, Lord Glover. He's like,
Okay.
oh, yes, ma'am.
Whatever you say.
I think Lord Glover has mother issues, but that's a discussion for another time.
Do a video on that one.
Yeah, there we go. Lord Glover's mother issues on the DKOT channel.
Speaking of issues, Littlefinger and Jon in the crypt.
Oh, he's an issue. And Jon found it to be an issue. Oh, it was beautiful. Littlefinger goes in there and he just starts running off at the mouth. And it was just so wonderful for Jon to just kind of look at him and in not so many words say, do you really think I'm going to listen to your shit?
Mm-hmm.
And but the biggest reveal, and you know what? I got to give you the honor, Chrissy, because you are the organized of the two of us. So I'm gonna let you have the honor in introducing what happened when Littlefinger decided to let Jon Snow know that he was in love with Sansa.
Yeah. So would love a big brother like Jon Snow. Don't touch my sister. We have like a little bit of a joke how much Littlefinger loves to hang out on walls. Well, Jon put him up against that wall.
Yes, he did.
Without a hesitation, and made it quite clear to him not to go near Sansa, not to touch her or anything. And I feel like Littlefinger was really confident, like especially now with Jon leaving, that this was his prime opportunity to get to her and get in her head.
Yes.
And be like, all right, well, you're in charge, and really get to her. And
which
it'll
he
be
may be
interesting
absolutely correct about in that little half-ass wave that she gave when Jon waved to her on his way out with Sir Davos.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I think the way that was portrayed is just like, okay, yeah, but yeah, another thing he shouldn't have announced without talking to her first. Oh, by the way, I'm leaving you in charge. Oh, thanks for telling me here in front of everybody. We didn't grow up together or anything. God, that's twice I took Sansa's side. What the hell's the matter with me now?
Yeah, you're out. Like,
but no, Jon took her side even more so in that crypt. I really did love how they did that. Littlefinger went in there talking his bullshit, and Jon straight called him on it, and he turned around, and I don't know. I think it was reaction video worthy, probably on my end, your end, and every other friend we have who watches Game of Thrones. You were just sitting there screaming at the TV, "Yeah, choke him out, John. Get him. Kill him, man. Just do it right now. If you rip his throat out, he can never tell another lie. Please, just do it. We deserve this. We want this. We want Littlefinger to die at your hands because he just mouthed off one too many times to the wrong guy." And John let him go. But I tell you what, I'm willing to bet Littlefinger's pants were not dry after that.
No, and it's interesting because one of the channels that I watch about Game of Thrones had mentioned that the Game of Thrones is no longer for the schemers like Littlefinger,
right?
And Varys. Like it's going to come down to real battles, and of course, in the North and what's forthcoming from there, there's really no place for Littlefinger to do his scheming and whatnot to get to the throne. How he used to have so much power and control so much. I don't think he really has anymore. I mean, he has what he has. I'm not belittling what he has, but he's nowhere near as powerful as he used to be, I don't think.
Well, he was going for a divide and conquer kind of approach, and now he's divided successfully, but he doesn't realize just how difficult the conquer part was going to be. Mm-hmm. He's got no one at his back. I mean, other than, Robin. I mean, that's it. That is the only person he can truly fool at this point is Robin. So what is it going to take for him to also get Sansa as an ally so that he can truly have the power of the North at his back? Littlefinger has finally bitten off more than he can chew. He is at that point where he doesn't know what the next 5 moves are going to be, so he can plan his little scheme. He's like us with Game of Thrones right now. He's got to wait week to week to find out. He's just done. So, but you know what? This brings up an opportunity. Before we do continue, I want to go ahead and you mentioned that you watch a Game of Thrones channel, and YouTube really is a community. And we do a lot of different things here. I try to avoid watching certain Game of Thrones videos until after we've done our 2 or 3 for the week, and then I go back and I will watch someone else's. Not just to maybe catch the things that I had missed, but to gain their perspective on it as well, because I respect the way that they broadcast. And, broadcasting's one of my passions, that. So when somebody's really good at it, I like to give them credit for it and call them out. What is the name of the channel that you've been watching, Chrissy?
It's Alt-Shift-X. He's impeccably professional. I believe he's paid to do it, and he's very well versed, like in the books and the shows, and he quotes things, and he's very thorough. And I definitely trust his opinion. And, I've tried to watch him all along, and he's spectacular.
Okay, and that's fantastic. So we'll put a link to his channel in the description on this video. So that you guys can go check him out too. This for me, YouTube's not a competition. It's got to be a community, and I like the way that that's done. And we love for you to check out other channels. So we're gonna leave his link in the description. But somebody who for me is not only just going into the we'll leave a link in the description for them as well, but we'll be going under the DKOT suggested pages is Rawrest. I used to watch probably about 4 or 5 different Game of Thrones channels once, the videos I wanted to make were finished. But now it's kind of been pretty much, and at one point when I kind of first started this channel in the capacity that it's doing now, she was like an honorable mention channel. She has to go under suggested. It's amazing stuff that she does. Like you said, book knowledge, television knowledge, has a good grasp of the way things are going, very professionally done. And for the guys, she's very easy to look at too. But very smart, good material, good original stuff, constant uploads, live webcasts. So we're going to put her in the DKOT suggested section there. So Alt-Shift-X and Rawrest, please check both those guys out. They do an amazing job. Those are the channels that we go to watch when we're done making our videos for this channel. So make sure you guys give them a look, and if you like what they have, subscribe to them as well. So, all right, so we are going to move on here, Chrissy. What else do we want to talk about with this episode?
Well, there's a couple other places where we stop by. King's Landing, of course. Cersei has her meeting where she's spreading her propaganda against the Dragon Queen.
Yes.
To very few people who are there. There's not a whole lot of people.
Not a whole lot, but one very significant name.
Absolutely. Sam's dad was there.
Yes, Mr. Tarly.
And the scene between he and Jamie was really great.
Game changing. Game changing as far as storyline goes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
I admired him for, refusing Jamie. Maybe not refusing, but saying, "Look, I have an oath to the Tyrells, and I need to keep that oath." And Jamie says, "Well, you also have an oath to your queen." And it reminded me of the scene with Jamie and Brienne. I don't even know what season that was, maybe season 3, where they were in the bath.
Yes.
And Jamie said, you make so many oaths to people that if you keep one oath, you're breaking another. And I feel like that's exactly the same situation that Sam's dad is in.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that was really like for a lot of us viewers, the turning point in how we viewed Jamie. Like his interactions with Brienne and how it's leading to what he is now, and the conversation, that he had with Lord Tarly. And, you make a really amazing point there is, without that character development, this scene never would have happened.
Yeah. And I really felt like it made me look at Jamie in a different light from the last episode, because I really felt like Jamie was not on Cersei's side. Like, I was just left with the feeling that he didn't really support her and what she was doing, or he was very cautious about it.
Right.
Like, when this conversation happens, it seems that there is no doubt in his mind that he's going to back his sister.
Right. Well, last week he also seemed like he might have been a little fearful, because she did ask, "Do you fear me?" And he said, "Should I?" So, I think, maybe he did have a little bit of paranoia going on there. But, if there's one thing about Jaime Lannister, he loves Cersei. He really does. Like, when you think back to it was actually just season 6 when he's talking to Edmure, who is his prisoner, and he's trying to take River Run with the Lannister army. The conversation he has about all he cares about is getting back to Cersei. So there's a lot of theories out there about his loyalty towards Cersei being shaken. As much as we already know about Cersei, and Jaime knows as much, if not more, than we, the audience, does, his loyalty has still never gone away. I don't think anything's going to shake that at all. What do you think?
I don't know, because there's talk out there about him being the one that's going to take Cersei down.
Right, the Valonqar, according to the prophecy.
Yeah. So.
But a lot of people also think that the Valonqar, is younger and more beautiful, it is said. And, a lot of people cite that because Jaime was the second born. He is the younger one. But, what do the gods define as beautiful? Prophecy is such a vague thing. Is it really necessarily a brother or, a queen that does this? Is, for all we know, it could be, the prophecy could have been about Tyrion. The prophecy could have been about Daenerys. It could have been about Jon Snow. And that's the funny thing. Like, even in fantasy fiction like this, prophecy is such a vague thing. I mean, we love to make our speculations and we love to pump our fists when we're right. But to me, and especially how I feel about the one who's going to take out Cersei, I'll be honest with you, I just don't know. There's just too many possibilities.
I've heard speculation that it could even be Brienne. Like, even though she's not outwardly more beautiful, she's inwardly more beautiful.
Absolutely.
So, there's all kinds of speculation out there.
So the way the prophecy is vague is it could just apply to way too many different people for me to even want to speculate. But if I do take a guess, and I definitely want to get your pick on this too, about who you think is the Valonqar, who's the one that kills Cersei. I used to think it was Jaime. I've got to back away from that. I now believe it is going to be Tyrion. I believe that Tyrion is the Valonqar.
I'm
And
still
and
sticking
if I'm
with
wrong,
Jamie.
I'm wrong. And if I'm
Yeah.
right, I'm gonna pump my fist in the air and be like, "That's right, you heard it first on the DKOT channel." But but I'm going with Tyrion because like you said, that with because prophecy's so vague, beauty doesn't necessarily mean physical beauty.
Right. It could
So
mean a lot of things. So right now, for now, I think I'm sticking with Jamie because it seems like there's a lot of clues and subtext that it is Jamie. So I think that's a bit too much to overlook, but you never know with Game of Thrones.
absolutely, always throwing us curveballs when we least expect them. Case
And
in point,
speaking of a
the Red
curve,
Wedding. Will we ever forget the first time we saw that?
yeah.
Whew. Yeah, I had actually I wasn't up to that point in the books yet when I saw it on the show, so it was a complete surprise to me when I saw it, and the way it was filmed. And I hate to take us all the way back to season 3 when we're talking about 7-2, but yeah, just the way that was done and directed and everything was right at eye level. I mean, you just want to talk about perfection, and it just seems like Game of Thrones continues to outdo itself over and over and over again, and that's what I really felt with this episode. Is, dare I say, it's arguably one of the best Game of Thrones episodes to date.
It was excellently done, and so much happened.
Yes,
So much happened.
absolutely. So where do we go from here? We are
I think there's just one last thing to mention that was, speaking of a surprise, Qyburn brought Cersei down to where the dragon skulls are kept.
yes, absolutely.
And revealed this ginormous crossbow
Yes,
to take down dragons. And
it was a beautiful crossbow,
yeah,
a very large crossbow, and Qyburn, being the loyal hand that he is, has no problem reading his queen and knowing that she would love to do it. Would you like to try it?
he certainly does that. But he made an excellent point. Like, if they could be wounded, they could be killed.
Yes, absolutely, and he did. He brought up the points of Drogon being wounded in the fighting pits of Marine. You think back to just the last episode, we've had mention of the dragon pits in King's Landing that have been closed, that the Lannister soldier who was sitting with our beloved Ed Sheeran had mentioned. So that leaves a lot as to what's going to come up. So
All right, I think next we have to talk about our girl Arya. What she's
yes.
up to, and her little reuniting with Hot Pie.
Yes, a great reunion.
Yeah.
Hot Pie and Arya sharing pie recipes. That was very nice.
Oh, funny, that's not what I did. So I think that after last episode, there was a lot of, I was wondering, how are they going to make her turn around? Because, she's heading for King's Landing and we all wanted her to go north. So what's going to make her turn around? And here,
Yes.
this information from Hot Pie is what did it, that John's there and the Boltons are not.
Right.
And there wasn't even, I feel like they showed a little hesitation, but, in her heart of hearts, like, we knew she was going to go north.
Yeah, absolutely. As she was heading on the road to King's Landing, I mean, that was something we even questioned during the podcast last week, in that we were like, okay, well, we thought she was heading north. Now she's heading to King's Landing to take care of Cersei and, leave it to Hot Pie. He says, oh, no, you got to go north. Your brother's the king in the north. The Boltons don't have anything there. And, but it was really, thank you for throwing us that bone, Dan and Dave. We really do appreciate it. That was a reunion we love seeing. I know at least I did, was Arya and Hot Pie. Because Hot Pie was always such a nice guy. He was always kind to Arya. But what about that really nice thing that he said to her? What was he said to her, Chrissy?
Yeah, he's like, I can't believe I ever thought you were a boy because you're pretty.
And that was just the sweetest thing. That was so Hot Pie. So,
and I feel like Arya's response, like, thanks. So Arya, because she wouldn't know what to say.
yes, and I hate to bring it up, but for the book readers, everybody knows Arya really kind of has taken on Ned's facial features. Like, she's not the pretty one out of her and Sansa. We of course know, Maisie Williams is a beautiful young woman, but but of course, she's just our favorite little assassin. She's always just going to be this little girl to us, no matter how old she gets. Oh, watching these guys grow up on Game of Thrones is making me feel old. I got to admit it.
And then another important reunion for her was with her direwolf, Nymeria.
Yes, beautiful scene too.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. Having the wolves surround her, and kind of at first approaching Arya like she's prey, and the horse giving heed to, hey, there's something in the area, and she looks up, and then Nymeria just kind of comes out of the mist, and originally has her teeth snarling, and Arya appeals to her. She hears her voice. She recognizes who this person is. But it was definitely one of the most powerful scenes in Game of Thrones to date, I believe.
I'm gonna be honest. So, like, I was almost in tears because it was moving for me. Like, just to see them back together, and I was glad that they kept true to the books with Nymeria being the head of this like wolf pack.
Right. I think the fans would have thrown a fit if they hadn't stuck. I understand certain things don't necessarily translate well from book to television or any other medium, but if there's certain prevalent character changes, such as the one you're talking about, there would have been a riot. Like, how can you not have Nymeria be the head of a wolf pack?
Mm-hmm.
So that was awesome that they did that. But I'm sorry, please continue.
No, I just thought that was really great, and just that how they showed the softening of Nymeria's eyes.
Right.
One scene was, that it really displayed the recognition between the two of them. And, how it ended. And I know Dan and Dave talked about this, and you know more about this than I do, afterwards, about, what Arya said.
Yes.
To Nymeria.
Yes. She said, "That's not you." And it actually reminds me of a scene that happened in season 1 when Arya is doing her water dance training, and Ned sits down with her on the step, and he's talking to her, and he mentions that someday she's going to be married to a lord, and she'll live in a beautiful castle, and she just looks at him and says, "That's not me." Mm-hmm. And that is like the true connection. That is why, every Stark and their direwolf has had a true connection to one another. And mm-hmm. that is the connection that Arya and Nymeria have in, she says to her, "Come back with me to Winterfell." Like, she wants Nymeria to be her companion again, but then Nymeria leaves in this very heart-jerking moment. And Arya understands, and that's why she chooses to use those words, "That's not you. No, you're not a companion. You're the leader of a wolf pack. I would hold you back from your true self, what you really are." And right. It was just as kind of like she was saying to her father when she was on those steps, like, being married to a lord and living in a castle, all that would do is prevent me from being who I really am. Right. And really hand it to Maisie in this scene. You want to talk about an actor who nailed their close-up, and that is one of the things I really do love about Game of Thrones, is seeing these kids having grown up and become better actors throughout the seasons. They were cast well, and they have done nothing but get better and better and better at their craft, especially, speaking of the young ones, Arya and Bran. I mean, just watching those two grow up on screen, mm-hmm. but she really nailed her close-up, and her face said 1,000 words, and truly, you did not have to work hard to suspend disbelief in that moment. That's what true good acting is, and I really got to hand it to the girl. But the writing, the directing, and the acting of that scene absolutely make it one of the most powerful scenes in Game of Thrones history.
Mm-hmm. And it's just, like, these are, just going back to that parallel, like, they were the expectations that were placed on Arya because she was, a girl. And, but, like you said, it's not truly who she is. And then, for Arya to expect, well, you're my direwolf, you're supposed to come with me.
Right.
Right. That's not you.
Exactly. It was so wonderfully done.
Yeah, it was really well acted, well written. But moving on from there, we have a meeting. At the Citadel of Jorah and Sam.
Yes.
So
two of my favorite characters.
Interacted before. And, it started off by, the Archmaester saying, look, it's too bad. We've got to send you away. You're going to go be a stone man, and that's kind of
Right.
your future. And Jorah sitting down and writing, his Khaleesi about what's going on when Sam, comes in and says, hey, I'm here to cure you, but you got to keep it down because no one knows I'm here.
Okay, which actually goes back to one of our theory videos that we made after episode 1 in Will Sam Cure Jorah Mormont? Well, that's kind of been answered now, but my theory in the video was that it had a lot to do with Dragonglass itself, because even Sam in the conversation with the Archmaester did bring up Princess Shireen. So I was really expecting that now, but when Jorah comes into the room where Sir Jorah is, and explains to him, and that was also a very powerful scene. I knew your father. I was with him when he died. I'm not letting a Mormont die today. So it was a really awesome scene, and I still can't believe that. I believe this is John Bradley's first acting gig. The actor who plays Samwell Tarly, he is just amazing in everything that he does. He has truly captured this character. He's exactly what I pictured in the books when I'm reading it. He doesn't stray from it. It's amazing. You can tell. I don't know if he's ever said this in an interview, and I'm going to research this, but he has to have read the books because he has a full understanding of Sam Tarly, that he just plays him so amazing. But yeah, he went in there, and the way he played that scene, and it was great. And then we found out that underneath Grayscale there is a lot of pussy stuff.
Yeah, it's quite pussy. Maybe you found that out, because I was like covering my eyes and saying, let me know when this is over so I don't have to watch it. I don't have the stomach for stuff like that.
Well, it was an absolutely wonderful scene, which actually transitioned well into the next scene where, as we're thinking Sam is cutting back into the skin for the second chunk, it's actually someone digging into a pot pie, which is what led into the Arya scene. But that was something that was just amazingly done. Again, kudos for the great directing. But what else can we say about this scene? It seems Sam is the one who's going to cure him. But it seems like my theory of Dragonglass being involved might be wrong, because I don't think there's any Dragonglass there in the Citadel.
Yeah, I don't imagine that there is, because he obviously couldn't get his hands on Milk of the Poppy to give it to him. So either that or he has really limited access to things.
Yes, and give it to Sam for being smart enough to take a swig out of there before he handed it to Jorah for the rest. I'm going to get a swig of this rum before I get started here.
Let me just calm down. And I think that, I think that leads us on to the final scene, which just left me totally breathless and
oh yes it did,
a little bit beside myself. Like, I didn't really know.
Well, you know what? But there's so much more than meets the eye to this final sequence of the episode, and I've actually, even since making our first video that I fumbled on, I'm seeing a lot of debate about this, so I'm really anxious to talk about this scene. So get us started. Where's the first good talking point of our venture to the sea?
Well, I'm not going to skip this talking point because I skipped on the version and it got deleted. So we had to get some girl-on-girl action there. I won't leave that out for you. I know you enjoy that very much.
Well, even though it was a sand snake bitch involved, we can just say that, it's still, I kind of like watching Yara take charge. She's a strong woman. She doesn't put up with anybody's shit, and she can hang with the boys, and she looks sexy doing it. So I am all down for anything Yara wants to do. All right. So,
and so that lovely moment, that lovely tender moment was interrupted by
the lovely tender moment of a sand snake bitch inviting Theon Greyjoy to partake in more incest in Game of Thrones. How wonderful.
The entire boat just started shaking, and I felt like, from a directorial standpoint, like that was, really a great way to introduce that they're under attack, not someone running downstairs and being like, they're coming. It was just really well done.
And thank you, Game of Thrones, for finally not having the surprise out of left field of somebody who came and saved the day. Thank you for that. A real battle that, where, the Knights of the Vale showed up, or, the Wildlings are here to save the day. It's like, finally, Game of Thrones, you let the bad guys win a battle. That was awesome.
Nobody was saving the day.
But the most electrifying part of that scene, I think of The Rock in my head when I say that. The most electrifying part was when, Euron's ship comes out of the mist, and you understand how it was written by, George R.R. Martin, that this puts fear in the hearts of people who are about to be boarded. And the way that contraption drawbridge came down off of Euron's ship and clamped its teeth into Yara's vessel so he could board was just probably the coolest part of any fight scene outside of Jon being reborn in the Battle of the Bastards. Probably the coolest part of any battle scene we've seen in Game of Thrones. And man, Euron is a sick puppy, and I am really starting to see how they are letting us, not right away, but letting us see that Euron is pretty much going to have Ramsay looking like a pussycat by the end of this season.
Yeah, and here's the thing about Euron is, he's a really awesome character in the books. Like
he really is. He's been underplayed in this show.
Yeah, and like was a little disappointing, I think, in season 6 was like, oh, well, he doesn't seem all that awesome. And even when he was named king, like in the book, he has this like long, really awesome speech, and it was just kind of like
right
in the series.
In the series, he seems like the kind of guy that you hang out with and have a beer with, because he's going to tell the funniest story of the stupidest shit that he did last weekend when you weren't there, and that's why you hang out with the guy. But now we're starting to see the scary side of Euron, and I like that because that's what he is. Yeah,
and I think the Jack Sparrow Captain Hook makeover is really helping his appeal. It's really like you are really seeing there's just a look in his eye this season that was not there last season.
Yes, absolutely.
Even with throwing his brother over a bridge, like there's a look in his eye this season that was not there last season, and I think it's really going to make him a more epic character.
Yes.
He is in the books.
Well, and I gotta tell you, being when I was growing up and everything, I loved WWF wrestling. Excuse me, WWE. But WWE. It'll always be WWF to me. But anyway, just growing up watching that, it's you kind of, there was your moments where you loved rooting for the heel, and there was definitely a moment during that scene where I was definitely rooting for the heel, and I was rooting for Euron. And may I say, congratulations, Euron Greyjoy. You, sir, are responsible for the death of 2 sand snake bitches. Congratulations, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Euron. That was beautiful.
He's 2 for 4 right now.
I do know their names, but they are sand snake bitches, and they will receive no such pleasure from me on this podcast.
Hey, look, I took a moment and I looked up the one who's still alive. Tyrene, is that how you say her name?
Yeah, but her name is Sand Snake Bitch, and now I prefer to call her Bad Pussy.
So
that's a good nickname for her because Bronn gave it to her, and I love Bronn. So yes, and her mother, other Sand Snake Bitch. So I was
prisoner.
But you know what? But I was wrong last week. This gives me an opportunity to correct that. I thought that Cersei was going to have Lannister forces somehow kidnap Yara and present her as a gift to Euron. I was wrong about that. Euron came and got Sand Snake. He came and got Yara, and he triggered Theon's post-traumatic stress disorder, which is one part of the scene I think we really need to talk about, because this is a lot of the argument that I've been seeing, and a lot of people don't understand this. Now, you know this. A lot of the audience doesn't. I was in the U.S. Marine Corps. I myself do not suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, but I do have brothers and sisters who do. And it's a subject that's very important to me, and I hate to kind of bring it to this low note when we've been so upbeat, for like the good last 20 minutes. But it's something that it really called attention to. Like, this is not something someone just gets over in a fortnight. This is something that stays with them for the rest of their lives.
Right. And what Theon went through, as Reek, I mean, if that doesn't cause post-traumatic stressism, like, I don't know, like, what does? I mean, it was quite awful what he went through, and just I think the way that it was filmed really gave you an impression on what was going on in Theon's head.
Right. And I mean, I can tell you from, training exercises that we did in the Marine Corps, I feel that as directors and special effect artists, they captured, at least from what I can talk from my experience, simulated fog of war.
Yeah.
Having things going off, ears ringing, not being able to hear your buddies, having to, like in training exercises where we had to stay below barbed wire because they were firing live rounds over our heads. It puts you in that stressful situation to see how you react, and it's supposed to simulate the fog of war for you. But what these directors and special effect artists did in that scene, and even though Dan and Dave say that final moment with Theon, Yara and Euron was the one part that really mattered the most, had to succeed, but they did succeed in the entire rest of the scene in creating at least a simulated fog of war. I think they did a really great job on that, and also bringing attention to Theon's PTSD being triggered by watching Euron's new shipmate having his tongue cut out. So
Yeah.
it's definitely something that it was powerful. But at this point, I'm going to want to get your thoughts on this too, especially because tell me what else in that situation could Theon have even done, even if his PTSD hadn't been triggered.
No, and I agree with you. Like at first, my first instinct was, oh my God, Theon, are you kidding me right now? And like, I can't believe you just did that to your sister. And that's how she felt.
Right. Yeah, absolutely, as evidenced by the tear.
Yeah.
And she feels her brother is still dead.
Yeah. But, part of me hopes, that, like you said, he assessed the situation and he really had no choice, because if he went charging at Euron's going to slit her throat and she was going to be dead. I feel like whatever he thought he was going to do, she would be dead or he would be dead. And so his only choice was to escape. And, I hope, and my theory is that, he'll be able to get help and return the favor that Yara did for him when he was rescued.
Right. What I hope to see, and I don't know if it will happen this way, but what I really do want to see is not just him going to rescue her, but look, Theon has to die in this story eventually, and he is growing less significant by the day.
Mm-hmm.
So he's probably going to be one of the ones that's out that we consider a major character. He's going to be probably one of the next ones to go. I'd like to see him do it in a brave, sacrificing manner to save Yara's life. I don't know if it's going to happen that way, but I feel like with what they brought up in that scene and the way they did it, it's possible. It's going to weigh on his conscience so heavy that the next time he has an opportunity to save her, he's going to sacrifice himself to do so. Now, whether or not Yara dies in that scene as well, I don't know, because she's also starting to become less significant, especially now without her fleet. Which that is now just part of Euron's fleet. So Cersei owns the sea at this point. Yeah. Other than Dany's ships that she brought over, but those are on their way to Casterly Rock. So, it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out.
And the other thing I'm curious about is, when that word gets back to Daenerys, is she going to regret the decision that she made to not just attack first?
Right.
Because they were prepared for an attack.
Right. Exactly. She's going to start thinking along the lines of, I am the dragon. I am the last dragon. Yeah. And that's when she just might kind of turn to an attitude of wanting to be Queen of the Ashes. And that's the dangerous slope we got to see. But, we still have Jon Snow and Dany still have to meet. And his honor rubs off on people. Yeah. So that's something that I'm definitely looking forward to. A lot of people keep talking about, Jon and Dany, excuse me here, Jon and Dany are going to be hooking up. And then, the theory is they're going to find out after they hooked up Jon's true lineage. And Jon's going to be all freaked out about it because he's a man of the North. And Daenerys is going to be like, so what? We're Targaryens. That's what we do. Yeah. Which very well just might happen. So that's an interesting theory that, I didn't come up with, but I'm going to keep my eyes peeled for. So, because I can see it going down that way. But it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. There's just so much jam-packed already into 2 episodes. They're moving at such a ridiculous pace. It's going to be interesting to watch.
Absolutely.
So you got anything to say in closing?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll do our announcements here. Get these out of the way really, really fast, guys. If you enjoyed this podcast, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up. It helps us out a lot. Make sure you tell us what you think about this podcast, as well as Game of Thrones and your theories, anything we talked about today or didn't talk about today in the comments. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. That way you can stay on top of what we're doing. And we're going to make a little announcement concerning subscribers here really quick. Guys, we want to thank you so much. We have gone to 79 subscribers recently. That may not sound like a lot in the world of YouTube, but for a starting channel, that's really awesome. We really do appreciate your support. You have no idea how much. They say that the first 100 subscribers are the hardest, and you are quickly getting us to that. So we want to extend our thank you to you. So what we're going to do is we continue to and grow and improve this channel. We'd like to do a giveaway to show our thanks. We would like to, when we get to 150 subscribers, we are going to give away a $15 Amazon gift card to one of our subscribers, and following details will come up in a later video. And when we reach 500 subscribers, if you can help us get to that point by liking and commenting on our videos and supporting this channel, we are going to give away a $50 Amazon gift card at 500. So guys, please stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And of course, if you'd like to help us as a patron, you can always support us on patreon.com/DKOT for as little as $1 a month, and you can cancel at any time. But the biggest way to help us out is to continue to watch our videos, share our videos, give us a thumbs up, give us comments, and subscribe to us. And we really appreciate everything you, the DKOT audience, has done for us. So thank you so much for that. And Chrissy, is there anything else you'd like to say before we leave today?
Yeah, just that, you guys rock. Thanks for listening, and we appreciate your time.
All right, Chrissy, thank you so much for helping us out again this week. We shall see you next week. And guys, thanks for listening to the DKOT channel. We shall see you next time.